Hello and welcome to the Hell Has an Exit podcast. I'm your host, Brian Alzate. Buckle your seatbelts and keep your hands and feet inside at all times. Stay alert but ready to act should anything unusual occur as we dive into the hellhole horrors of addiction in its most raw and uncut form. If cursing is unspiritual to you, or you think that cursing is unspiritual, you might want to turn this podcast off. If explicit drug stories trigger you, this might not be the podcast for you. If you're easily offended or overly sensitive, you might want to go ahead and call your sponsor. The Hell Has an Exit podcast is geared towards interviewing individuals who have been to hell, defied the odds, and found an exit. Over the years, recovery, sobriety, whatever you want to call it, has become a little too mainstream. It's become almost like a fad. And even though I do think there's a lot of joy in seeing young people get clean, and that it is pretty cool to be clean, I think there's a message that's being lost. And there's a harsh reality that 60,000 people a year are dying from overdoses. I don't know if I'd still be clean if my sponsor wasn't the way he was. My sponsor told me to sit down and shut the fuck up. My sponsor told me if we want to know where to go cop, then we'll ask you to say something. He told me to take the cotton out of my ears and stick it in my mouth. That's how I got clean. That's how I think people need to get clean. This podcast is not affiliated with any 12-step program. This podcast is not a substitute for recovery. If you're struggling with an addiction, I highly recommend you get your ass to a 12-step meeting in your area ASAP. This podcast is sponsored by United Recovery Project. If you're struggling and believe you might need to speak to a professional about detox or treatment, please call a specialist at 833-999-1877 or visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com.